Hello and welcome to the Discover History YouTube channel, and tonight we're going to reveal the answer to our Monday mystery. So before we do that, just to remind you what the mystery object was. What is this artifact here? So hopefully you can see that there. So this is made out of bronze, but there was a lot of them also made out of things like precious metals, for example. If you were rich enough, you could also have these made out of silver. This one is solid, so it's actually made out of one complete lump of metal as such, really, whereas some of them were actually cut out or pierced, so you could actually see through to the other side. Very, very intricately made. Now, hopefully you can see the detail on this one. Some of them were more decorative than others, and you will notice this one has all sorts of swirls in all sorts of very, very detailed patterns on it. There are actually some animal heads on there as well. I don't know if you can see the animal heads near the top. Basically, it's very, very difficult to make out. And then on the back of it, we have a very simple piece of metal, iron, which acts as the hook as such, really, and you can push it in and open it up like that. So we asked you the question of what is our Monday mystery, and remember these came in pairs. So was it in fact a back plate for a little mouse or something like that? Was it a shield? Interestingly, what most people thought it was some form of shield boss. Now, if you think of shields long ago, the bosses technically needed to protect the hand whilst they were inside the shield. So this one could be from a child's shield, and some people did actually think it's possibly an Anglo-Saxon shield boss for children. The fact is, it's not, but you're in the right time period. Now, usually when we do a Monday mystery, we just ask you what the object is. Now, what we didn't want, and this is what we feared actually, was people would say it's a brooch. Yes, it's a brooch. So we actually asked you the question of not just what is it, we also said what time period is it from, and if you wanted to, give a bit of context to it. How is it used, for example? And we didn't get 100% correct answers. We had some people say it was a brooch, which is not wrong, but a lot of people didn't narrow it down enough, basically. But interesting fact, in my parents' household, there seemed to be a lot of discussion last night, and after a lot of discussion amongst, I think, three, four people, they actually came up with the correct-ish answer. It is a brooch from the Viking period in particular. They got the Viking bit, so well done for getting the answer right there. But the problem is, like I said, we didn't get a 100% correct answer. A lot of people, including the Harding household, not here, but Harding household number 2, did think it was to hold a cloak, for example. So no one this week got the exact correct answer. So we finally stumped you with this one. So they are, as I said, Viking brooches, and they are always worn in pairs. Now, they're attached to a dress. Now, there are lots of different styles of clothing in what we often refer to as the Viking era. However, if you look back through the playlist, we shouldn't really say Viking era, or we shouldn't really say the word Viking, because what you have to remember is the people from Scandinavia were basically Scandinavians, or what we would call people from Norway, Denmark and Sweden. They're the core countries where these so-called Vikings came from. Viking, as I mentioned in a previous video, is really a term of an action. It's what they're doing, and that really refers to the raiding in particular. So if you think about it, you could say the Viking era in Britain starts in 793 with the technically first recorded attack on the island known as Lindisfarne, or Holy Island. And if you do ever get a chance after lockdown, do pay it a visit. So technically it starts in 793 and it goes on till 1066. But we have to remember that form of people, the Scandinavians, have a heritage, they have a history that goes back centuries, really. Now, in that Viking period, and we're going to call it Viking period for the purposes of this video, Viking women basically wore what is often referred to as a kirtle, and that was worn usually over what is sometimes referred to as an under frock or an underdress, basically. So they would wear a linen, very long linen underdress, and then they would wear a kirtle over the top. Now, a lot of women also wore what was often referred to as an apron dress. That's what we would call it today. Archaeologically, we would call it a apron dress. Some people will call it in modern times as a tube dress. Other people will call it by its technical name, its historical name, really, which is a hanger rock. And that's one word. But it's basically a dress. As you can see, this one's made out of red wool, and it's a tube. So basically, you've got stitches down the side. Now, some of these were not stitched down the side. We know that for a fact. Some of them were left open, which is why we often refer to it as an apron dress. But they're actually held on by straps that come over the shoulder. There we have one just there. So we have a strap that goes over each shoulder. And those straps are held in place by these brooches that we mentioned. So if I just attach this one, I'll show you what I mean. Now, the dress that I've got here and the brooches that I showed you for our Monday Mystery is actually what Helen usually wears when we portray Vikings or people from that sort of Scandinavian culture as such, really. And you will see how the whole thing is held together when I hold it up. Hopefully you can see that just there. I think you can see that. So if I was wearing it, not that I would do because this is a female's garment, you will see the straps that go over the shoulder and the two brooches hold the straps together. So it basically holds the front and back together. But like I said, they had a number of different names for these, but they are very stereotypical as Viking. They are very stereotypical for something that was worn in Scandinavia. Now, they're very common in places like Norway and Sweden, not so much in Denmark. You don't find many of them in the archaeological record, but we do find them in Britain also, especially during that period, like I said, that we call the Viking one, that really reigns from 793 to 1066. The very early ones that were worn generally were plain, very, very plain things, but then later on they become more and more decorative. And if you were rich enough, you would have them, like I said, made of silver and maybe even pierced as well. Now, in modern day, we often call these brooches as tortoise brooches, and I have also heard them called turtle brooches, and it's mainly because of the shape of them. They're an oval brooch that are worn technically on the two shoulders just of here. Now, when you see some artwork from that period and even later that is portraying Viking people, you sometimes see between the brooches jewellery as well. So you often get, for example, a necklace hanging between the two tortoise brooches, and you can also have dangling from one of the tortoise brooches things such as a knife in a scabbard, or maybe even a key if it's someone very important and they own a chest with, for example, money in. Now, just to give you a better illustration than me holding up technically a lady's dress, here we have a picture of one being worn in this book, and hopefully you can see that, and you can see that on the shoulders are the two tortoise brooches. So like I said, no one got a 100% answer to our Monday Mystery, so it's a result on our side. They are brooches, and they are always worn in pairs, so they are Viking tortoise brooches. So once again, as always, thank you for taking part. Well done for those that almost got it 100% right, and look out for one next week as well. On that note, stay safe, stay in, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye.